Hello. I am getting ready to get myself in trouble again. I am here, retired, alone, and loving it. Okay, hold up. I know. I feel it bubbling. You have a comment ready for me. Let's have a chat first, okay? All righty. Are you ready? I can't help myself. I cannot help getting myself in trouble. That last video I did, oh my God, the comments. Well, today I'm going right back there and saying something so controversial again. Women, older women, and some men, retired, choosing to live alone, embracing singlehood, singleness, whatever we want to call it. What's up with that? Is that a trend or is it a fad? I think it's a trend. According to the National Council on Aging, about 28% of adults in the US live alone. And that seems to be the highest because it's lower in Latin America, it's lower in the Caribbean, and other cultures where first people live longer and the family structure is different because that's one of the reasons people are living longer. Now, we may be alone because of circumstances, but choosing to be alone is a decision. Are you ready for this conversation? If you don't know who I am Maggie Lazar. I am a retired nurse practitioner, nurse who has retired here in the country of Panama. And I'm coming up on my 2-year anniversary. Did it. Happy, every day, thankful for this life. I am also the creator of SWRA, Single Women Retiring Abroad, a group of sassy older ladies who have made the conscious decision to retire here in beautiful Panama, create sisterhood, creating community while we reinvent ourselves. If any of this sounds of interest to you, I invite you to like the video, share it with your friends and family, or whomever you think might benefit from this content. And also, please subscribe to the channel. I have gotten quite a few new subscribers from that last video that seemed to have hit a nerve. But I think all in all, it was a conversation that needed to happen. I am a thinker and I don't like to stir the pot, but I want people to not stick their heads in the sand as to what's happening around us. Okay. So, why did I choose this topic today? I get called all the time, or even on the YouTube channel. Somebody would say, "Are you single? Why are you single? By choice." And this guy said, "You're just single because nobody's talking to you." And I said, "Well, that's true too." Don't put myself out there. I'm not looking. I'm not at the bars. I'm not shooting pool. I'm not looking for anybody. And I know pretty sure that nobody else is looking for me. And I am okay with that. And that's what we want to talk about today. Why I choose singleness in my later years. To understand a little bit of that, we have to go back, right? Throughout history. Sometimes as women, especially, we start thinking, oh, woe is me. How bad we have it here. Why did women have to suffer so much? Why did we have to protest for the right to vote? Why are we still fighting to get equal pay for equal work? I talk about my enlightenment in my early 50s, where I finally came to the understanding of the ways of the world, of how the world order, I call it. The strong crushing the weak, just grabbing, taking, doing crazy committing crimes and awful things to somebody they deem inferior or weaker. That's the way of the world. But I think womanhood also is part of that world order that throughout history, women always were looked down upon. We were never considered equal to males. The whole world is paternalistic, right? And of course, there is a resurgence of that. There is a word that I saw last week. I think I posted it, Max, something like that, where misogyny and the strong man is coming back. I have no problem with male value. I understand that I'm different, right? And I embrace that. But again, it is a human, it's not a quality to feel like if you perceive someone to be weaker, then you need to put your foot on their neck. So women throughout the ages, and again, thinking of what I just said, we think we have it bad until we read about women from other places. And to this day, what they are dealing with, just like in the US, we're still fighting for equal pay, these women are still fighting for relevance, right? For somebody to say, oh, you exist, you have value. So that has been a problem. Now, there were exceptions, of course, throughout history, the Amazonian or whatever they call the women warriors. In fact, there is a community on the continent of Africa that I hear, like, I think it's a village or a community that is managed by women only, and men are what we know as women now, underneath the leadership of women. But that is the exception rather than the rule. I, in the past few years, have watched a lot of not just documentaries, but like TV programs, novelas, meaning like a romantic program. But they would come from places like not the US, I was over the soap operas here. But I look at novelas from Mexico, Latin America, and then way across the pond, China, South Korea, Turkey. We have a lot of Turkish drama here in Panama on TV, and even Russia. But I have to tell you, throughout the fabric of all those stories were the women who were being oppressed, not valued, undervalued. They were like you property of the men in those societies, and the abuse and the physical violence is ever present. Physical violence is here too in Panama. It's in the US. It's a global phenomenon. So again, you become enlightened to this is the way of the world. So marriage in itself as an institution was a means to an end. It was a tool that the male would use to ensure, what's the word I'm looking for? To ensure, continued success in terms of possessions, land, cattle, or whatever. That's why if a man is going to a young girl's parent to ask for her hand in marriage, they tell you bring so many cows or whatever. Okay, it's a business proposition. Even though when we flip the coin and we dismiss that and we want to go our own way, we haven't done so well either, right? So I have a friend whose marriage was planned by her family, and she had a beautiful marriage. She loved her husband. She was the exception. It worked for her. But marriage in itself was a business proposition. It's a way for women to escape a lot of horrible things. Let's say you're in a home where there is violence and you're undervalued and you're just trying to find yourself and have a sense of identity. So, and then first of all, you didn't have a choice. You didn't have a choice in who they chose for you, so you're going to marry that person. I know for my grandmother and my family, that's the way it was, right? 2 generations back. So that's what marriage was. And we as women, as young girls, we were, I'm still worried that because the nail keeps getting caught in things, it just bothers me. Um, we are programmed to see marriage as a way to elevate our status. So even though we were allowed to now go to school and have a career, then you have the feminist movement. Oh, God forbid. I had a gentleman tell me that, oh, that feminist rhetoric is from the pits of hell and shall not win over the Holy Spirit. And I was like, oh, who's talking about feminism? Anyway, but whenever there is oppression, when the people finally revolt, we tend to go to the extreme, right? I'm a centrist. I'm not extreme right, extreme left. It's always gray for me. It's like, well, maybe it depends. And the problem we're having now is that there is no independent. It depends. It's my way or the highway. If you don't believe like I do, you're my worst enemy. Anyway, I had to put that in there because that is what we are living, those days we're living in right now. But we were programmed as girls that getting married, getting your womb to birth out babies, keeping house, and being a dutiful wife was a feather in your cap. Society was going to look at you with new eyes, with more respect. So we fell into that trap. That's why a lot of us end up getting married. People getting married in their 20s, I say now that we have no business making such a decision so early. I was 21 or 22. What the hell did I know about getting married? What it entails. So once you go through that, and then of course, you on that wheel, you just running, babies, marriage, church, you just going. No time to sit and see what's happening. And you guys know that a lot of these marriages are just death traps, that people are miserable, they're being killed, they're being abused, the children don't see anything positive. And that is why I read that marriage rates have been decreasing since the 1900s to about 54%. So people are saying, wait a minute, maybe it's not all that's cracked up to be. I was sold a bunch of hogwash. Because you see that the divorce rate is about half. People get married for the wrong reasons. And those who are able to get out, get out. Some try to get out and end up dead. But another reason people get married is for procreation, right? Because, in Africa, I keep saying Africa because that's where I was recently, when you have polygamy, it wasn't a moral issue per se. It was more of continuing the name, the tribe, right? So when you get to your 40s and 50s and you're finally seeing the light, like I did for my religious encounter, and say, wait a minute. Because when you are busy, you don't have time to sit still. So let's say you go to a divorce through whatever. Somebody cheated. He looked at you and said, I don't like you anymore. You birthed me 5 babies and your body is not Coca-Cola. I don't want you anymore. Men go through midlife crises and they want a young thing. I mean, there are a host of reasons why people divorce or separate or saying right now, no, I am not getting married. I am not getting hooked up with somebody. And some people, even if they do, they're like, no, we're not having children. So there is a sense of people are getting a little bit enlightened. And of course, the Bible thumper over here is going to say from the pits of hell that we're not following the Bible. This is not that conversation today. But we're talking about the marriage trap. Now, does that mean every marriage is a trap? No. But we haven't done so well with marriages. 50% of people getting married will get divorced. And I know a lot of people who stay married. It's like they're doing penance, it's like they're dying in there, but they can't get out. They don't have the will or the means to get out. Or they have a preacher that brings the Bible and says, the Bible says, even if he's beating you, even if he cheats on you, you need to do your wife's duty. You know how it is. You're supposed to, oh no, you have to go to work because there is a 50-50, you got to pay 50. Don't get me started on the 50%. Whew, that's a hot topic for me. You got to go to work. You got to birth those babies. After 6 weeks, you go back to work. You got to get up at 4 o'clock, get these babies ready, take them to daycare, go to work, do your work, be the best, get the promotion, go pick up the kids because, I'm a man. I can't do that, although some do. And then when you get home, oh, yeah, you got to cook because we're not going to go buy McDonald's and stuff. I need a home-cooked meal. Don't forget the pile of laundry. Oh, and there's homework, okay? And then when you collapse in bed at midnight, now you have to be the sexy vixen and then take care of your king. And we wonder why women are depressed. That is a recipe. It's like a recipe for murder. You cannot live like that day in and day out, day in and day out. It's unsustainable. So when somebody gets out and then they have to make their own money, first of all, they have to get prepared for that because it's a harsh reality. If you have a domineering spouse who keeps you in the house, in the kitchen, and pregnant and controls everything, you're trapped. And it takes a lot of effort and smartness to prepare your exit. You don't just say, I'm leaving you. So a lot of us come to this age and we have gone through, some people have gone through more than one divorces. And then we get to the other side. We're retired. We're moving to Panama, Ecuador, Brazil, Portugal, Spain. Oh, the Philippines. I'm reading a lot about the Philippines, the older guys marrying the very young things and having babies and dropping dead too because they're old. So we come here, we say we're retired. First of all, we need to rest, okay? I want you to know that. Sisters need to rest. We have been running around. Now, the scenario I described earlier, that's only when the kids are younger. Because once the kids get to high school, you think you got a reprieve, but no, the grandparents are moving in with you because they can't stay by themselves. You become a caregiver for somebody else. When do you rest, sis? And no one is asking, how is Maggie doing? How are you feeling today? Your husband thinks he's got a prize at home because, boy, you're doing all this stuff and you are holding it together. Are you? Is she? So by the time you make the very difficult decision, because even let's say the older parents passed or whatever, but people are still expecting you to, you got to volunteer in the church. You're the church mother now, so you have to mentor all the young ones, so your work never stops. But by God's grace, you become enlightened and you say, I'm retiring. I am moving out of this thing. I'm escaping. I'm going to do me. and then you'll end up here in Panama or somewhere else. So why wouldn't you want somebody to hold your hand, cook for you, take you out? But is that what you're going to get? I am so sorry. When I got divorced, I've been divorced for 12 years now. And no, I'm not going to go into that kind of story. That's personal. There's something that should be personal on social media. You don't put all your stuff out there, right? After the divorce, and the pre-programming, okay, you think you're doing a good thing by just finally getting out of a relationship that wasn't working for you. And then the people are looking at you on the outside. So now your friends, you kind of have to be careful, because if you were friends with couples, now that you're single, it's a whole different ballgame. You cannot hang out with that crew anymore, because the ladies are going to look at you like, oh no, now she's looking. No, excuse me. She might be looking at my husband. Therefore, the water starts to cool off. But you need to understand that for yourself and try to move yourself away. Don't wait for them to cool off and just say, oh, now we can't go to this. Oh, we can't go to dinner. Oh, we can't go on vacation anymore because you're a single woman. You become a liability, not an asset. So a lot of us, after the D, we go on these websites. I remember I signed up for Match.com, Plenty of Fish, 3 or 4. And they're not that cheap. And that's work, because you start reading all these profiles. And I can tell you, the pool wasn't that great. I went to a coffee with one particular person. He proceeded to tell me he'd been in jail so many times. Now, this is the little Catholic girl, it's like, oh, what? How many times? 7 times. And then he was telling me like it was a badge of honor. I mean, he could have lied. I don't know if he was lying, but to tell me the first date, coffee date, that you've been in jail for 7 years. And then I was like, oh my God. And I'm thinking, well, he's a Black man. Maybe there was what did you do? Robbery, bank robbery. Girl, I could not get out of there fast enough. I think I was at a Starbucks. I'm looking around saying, how can I escape? Oh my God, oh my God. Another one was a poet. He does poetry, stand up. And I'm like, do you have a job? The pool is not great. And at the same time, when you saw a profile of somebody who looks presentable, professional, has got a job, and he looks like he's really got his act together, and at the bottom they would say, I don't date Black women. Because I will see the brother at a light. I'm in my car. I was driving a BMW then. I'm in my car and he's in his suit and I'm in my suit. So, you know how in the South you acknowledge, you do nod or you say hello. He just saw my face turning towards him and he turns. He's not looking for me. Okay, I don't want to say what I wanted to say because that would be really controversial. But let's just say the pool, and of course, I've read some stories of sisters meeting their soulmate, and that is great, but that is the exception rather than the rule, sis. Don't go on this website expecting to find your soulmate. It takes work. And a lot of them, because you know why? Now that you've been out of a 20, 30-year relationship, you've hopefully learned some lessons, and you're like, if I do this again, These are my must-haves. Then now you have a list which you didn't have when you were in your 20s. Okay, I forgot to ask you, did you like the video, share it, and subscribe? I'll wait, like Stephanie says. I'll wait for you to subscribe. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But it's work. And as I said, we get here, we want to rest. So let's go back to me and those websites. And then what I found out also is that the same profiles I saw on Plenty of Fish were the same profiles on Match.com, were the same profile. There was a Christian one, Christian Mingle or something like that. And I'm like, so the pool is small. And because you always have more women than men, then they have a pick of the litter. Typically, the statistic will say for a single older woman, it will be almost impossible for you to find a mate or to remarry, just a mate. And I think a lot of us are just tired and we're like, you know what? I did that in my 20s. I see what's happened. I had my experience with those websites, and Tinder, don't even get me started. No, I was never on Tinder. People are just looking for hookups. Like, you in your 50s and your 60s, and you just want to sleep around with somebody you don't know, not worried about STI, STDs, and all kinds of stuff. No, no. So why am I embracing singlehood? Okay. The reason we are single could be divorce, a lot of us. The disappointment with the dating apps, that's number 2. The quality of the pool. You know, you get to be a certain age, you've groomed your mind, you're aware, you know, not that you are the smartest person in the world, but you want to be with someone you can have conversation with about what's happening in the world. We can talk about the arts, music, food. But let's say the person who you trying to hook up with, you know, oh gosh, I gotta be so careful what I say. They do have a job, but their interest lies, they watch football all the time, or they want to go out with the boys, they want to shoot pool. Someone like me, it just wouldn't work. I'm an intellectual. I like other things. So finding compatibility is a big barrier, right? And hookups, I'm a medical person. No. I'm not taking that chance with you. I had patients in my facilities who were taking lifelong medication for syphilis because they were wild in their youth. Now, I know you're taking your medication, but no, no, I'm not taking that chance. Another thing that I found is that a lot of these old men, they have some crazy fantasies that they want to have come, you know, what do we say, complete or fulfill those fantasies with you, with me. Okay. Are you game? No, I'm not. Talked about STI, STDs. Then you got to deal with their families, the adult children. I have a friend who had been divorced for years. Beautiful, smart as a whip. And of course, when you're smart, it's very difficult for you to find someone you can relate with. I didn't mean it to sound like that. You know what I mean? If you're an intellectual, the other person, when somebody says opposites attract, I don't believe in that. I think you have to have some shared interest. You have to have things to talk about. Because when you're in your 60s, 70s, it's not about the sex. It's about compatibility. It's about camaraderie, right? So adult children. So she broke her own rule. And oh, there is somebody hitting next door. I thought I had missed that. So sorry. She broke her own rule after like 20 years or so and married this guy who seemed to be the whole package. He was well read, he had money, he dresses nice, he smelled good. So I don't know, in a moment of weakness, she married the guy. They didn't last 1 year. You know why? Not just the fact that to have somebody in your space, you've been alone for 20 years, that makes it really difficult. But she had to deal with the adult children who saw her as a threat for dad's money because now she's married. It's not just a girlfriend. Legally, she's going to have, access to his wealth. And she's like, oh, you can take your dad. And no money, I'm out of here. So she said, okay, I will never break my own rule again. Never again. I don't want to deal with that either. I do not want to deal with that. No. The other thing is health. There is a term, I think they call it nurse something, where you marrying somebody who's older. Because, typically a lot of males don't take care of themselves. They don't like to go to the doctor. So they have all kind of chronic illnesses. We do too. We do too. But just know that if you hook up with someone, then you're inheriting his health condition. And if there is love and understanding, it's not a problem because that would have happened if you were married, right? But you got to have your eyes open to say, oh, yeah, because if that person gets ill and you marry him, or even if you hook up with him and you just boyfriend and girlfriend. So some people don't want to do that. And the last thing I have on here is domestic violence. Listen, you would be surprised how many older people, older couples engage in that behavior. Because, domestic violence, sexual violence, like we're dealing with some of that here as well, it doesn't matter, your educational background, societal background, your color, your race, ethnicity, none of that. It transcends all that. It's such a complicated, problem. So just because you marry someone in their older years, don't assume that they have wisened up, that now they're not going to, push you, shove you. I'm just too old to be going through that. And yes, I know you're going to say, but you got to take a risk. Do I? I don't have to. I don't want to. I don't want to. All right. So what do we do? So for all these reasons, we're saying as seasoned sisters, I'm not speaking for the brothers, I'm speaking for me, moi, Maggie. I don't want to deal with your adult children and threaten, with your money. I don't want to take the risk of domestic violence. I don't want to fulfill your weird fantasies. I don't want to do any hookups, STI, STDs rampant. No. When you sleep with someone, you sleep with everybody else they have slept with. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Even with you married, you're not safe from that because there's a lot of shenanigans going on in marriages. OMG. Just because you don't know doesn't mean it's not happening. Okay? And it's not just males who cheat. I know females who cheat too. And the husbands are clueless, happily clueless. He's doing his own thing on the other side. Oh my God, just too much. And the dating apps are no help. So what are we doing in this stage? If we don't have someone, yes, it's nice to have a partner. Someone, if you have good news you can share with. I kind of like when I come home, there's nobody asking me where I've been, that I can just take a trip whenever I want to. I'm responsible for my own health. I don't have to worry that somebody else is not taking care of themselves, then I'll have to deal with, the effect of that. And this is why SWRA, I'm so passionate about SWRA. creating community, building friendships, people to check on me check on them. There was a beautiful story on Facebook yesterday about a sister having surgery and how her friends rallied around her. And I went like, yes, that's what it's all about. And I don't want the brothers to feel like, oh, we're saying we don't need men. That's not what we're saying. We're saying the statistics are not in our favor and that we are in such opposite realms that we don't have time to learn each other at this point. To me, I feel it's a little bit late. But having said that, if the Lord drop a gorgeous man in my lap who meets, I'm not against it. I'm not against it. But, you will say, well, you want somebody perfect. No, you're not looking for perfection. Understanding, kindness, a good mind, somebody who can have fun, who's not so tight about everything, somebody with an open mind. If I'm talking and I'm giving my opinion, you was like, oh, and you listen. I met somebody this week or last week. Every time I say something, it was like, you don't want to be around people like that because everybody has a story. I should have an opinion and I should be able to share it with my person. So if my person is out there, God knows. If my person is not out there, it's okay. And I think this is the crux of the issue for us. We are not stressing over not having it. Please listen. Like I say, don't cry for me, Argentina. Oh, Maggie, that's what the guy said. Oh, you just single because nobody's talking to you. I'm like, well, you're probably right. I don't go to bar. I'm not looking for a hookup. No, I am not. Okay. This lady said to me the other day in the comment, why are you wearing a ring on your ring finger? Because I want to. You don't need to be married, girl. It's like, what business of yours is this where I put my ring? Oh my God, people, relax, relax. So we are okay. Don't feel sorry for us. There are a lot of us out there who are single. There are some ladies out there who are out there dating and doing their thing. That's their life. That doesn't concern me. I don't have to have an opinion. You do you, I do me. You live your life, I live my life. What I'm saying is, in this stage where I am right now, I am content. Look at this face. I'm staying engaged. I told you I need projects. I'm working on SWRA, working with my sisters, trying to build sisterhood. What else is it about? I don't need anything else. I go on trips when I want to. I get up when I want to. Freedom. Marriage is not everything to everybody. I think it's highly overrated. And there are so many people who are in horrible marriages, but because that's all they know, and they've allowed themselves to be programmed that you can't live without this person. He controls your money and where you go, what you do. And I'm not criticizing you, sis. I'm just saying I am not in that space, and I am glad not to be in that space. So I wanted to have this conversation because when somebody sees so many single ladies here, they're like, oh, they just can't get a man, blah, blah, blah. But I want you to know that we are okay not having one and we're not actively looking. If one comes, great, but we're not spending energy in the search. I'm not. I don't know, but I'm not talking for the sisters. I'm just talking about me. So I hope this wasn't too controversial. And please don't come with negative, judgmental comments because, one thing we have in social media is that we can remove your comment and we can block you. Okay, this is a conversation. Let's learn to appreciate and love and respect each other's decision. So, whatever decision I made in the past, I try to make peace with the people involved and the parties because what's the point? We just need to move forward in a positive way, just enjoying life, trying to touch as many lives as we can. And that's it. That's all this life is all about. Okay. 39 minutes. I need to stop. I want to thank you for listening to my ranting. Hopefully you get an idea of where my head is. And I know there are a lot of sisters out there in the same boat. I just happen to be the bold one to come here and address this issue. And yes, I'm wearing my little necklace. I was given that in Peru, and I love it. No comments. Okay. So I hope you have a good day, that you have a good week, and that you are happy, comfortable, content. Happiness and contentment are different. Happiness is situational. Contentment is a state of being. That is my quote, and you're free to use it. Okay? All right. God loves you. I love you. Au revoir. À la prochaine. Bonne journée. Bye bye.